spent my first 15 years trying to get out of the woods because I thought it was horrible. And I spent the next 20 years trying to get back. The truth of the matter is we need to be well-rounded individuals like our forefathers were.
Ooh-wee. He said, woo-wee, I guarantee. Man, over
Yes,
Justin
sir.
Wilson.
Justin
Man.
Wilson.
Justin Wilson. He said a little bit of
Yeah.
wine, a little more
Get a-
wine, take a
get
drink
bit
of the wine.
You measure it out in your hand like that. Throw
Like
it in there,
this.
be okay.
Ah.
Like this.
I guarantee.
And he was
Man, what's
always
up,
spot
y'all?
on too, man. He put a little garlic in there, and that was exactly the right amount.
That's some good cooking right there. All my
Yes,
family
sir.
on my mother's side, Louisiana, Pineville to be exact, Pineville, Louisiana. But y'all, I'm excited tonight. How do I sound out there, guys? Because my mic has sucked for months and months. Somebody give me the 5x5 because I feel like I sound good. I feel like I sound how I look, just snazzy. That's what I'm feeling like right now. But welcome to another Mountain Readiness Monday, coming at you live from Appalachia right here in Wilkes County. And we have our awesome guest next to us, Diana. Thank you, Diana. I appreciate it. I'm glad everybody can actually hear me finally. But we got the official sponsor of Mountain Readiness 2025, Mr. Brush Beater NC Scout himself, Matt. What is going on, brother?
What's up, brother? It's good to
Hell
be
yeah.
here.
Throw that up there. Throw our official sponsor thing up. And a big thanks also to the Russ of Oz back behind the curtain, pushing the buttons and pulling the levers. Look how cool that is, man. It drops us off to the side of the screen and everything. I'm pretty proud of that Canva little flyer here. I don't know about you. It only cost me five hours of my life that I'll never get back.
I love it. I
Sitting
love
in front of I think it looks great. And then setting in the awesome little truck and everything. But man, go ahead and throw that off there, Russ. Oh, no, he's gone. Oh, there he is.
There
He's
we
back.
go.
He's back. And we got all kinds of people in the chat. Look, guys, remember, like, share, subscribe, hit the buttons, all that stuff. Make sure to go over there on X, say hi to Matt, and follow him if you don't already. But I have a feeling that you actually do. And Battle Gnome is correct. It is not in the hills of Appalachia. It is Appalachistan is where we is at, people. So
right.
Cool. What have you been up to, man? Got to see your store. It's awesome. I know that's been keeping you. That's where you're at right now in the leather room.
In here in the recording studio. It's still a bit of a work in progress, but here we are. You got to take a tour of the showroom, the dark room in here in the studio, seeing the whole thing, and that video was a hell of a lot of fun to make. We had a whole lot of fun off camera too, and sitting in here bullshitting and telling some wild stories, and
it was a good time. It was a good time. Hey guys, and if you ain't been there, you need to roll over to North Carolina on the Virginia line, not Virginia, just on the line right there in Yanceyville, because the store is off the hook. The products are off the hook. I loved it, man. Just walking in that place, I felt like I was going into a 5-star hotel or something, man.
Yeah,
I mean, y'all killed it.
Yeah, it's nicer than I anticipated it was going to be when everything was all said and done and wrapped up, and The tooled leather on everything looks just incredible. It's that's
Yes.
exactly what we were shooting for, and it's man, it's a whole lot better than anything I expected I'd ever own. But here we are, and
When I know
I'm
you
real,
said
real proud of it.
I know you said Mrs. Brushbeater had something to do with it, of doing some designing in there.
Oh
She
yeah,
did an
yeah.
amazing job. Like, make sure to pass that on to her. And then there's my wife. Look here, Matt. It crushed me. Do you see this comment right here? Do you
Oh,
see
I
this
got
comment?
another one. Hey,
Look
don't
here,
worry, I
dog.
got another one for you.
Look,
Oh,
didn't even get the first sip out of it.
dang,
And she
dang. I got
broke the handle clean off of it.
Don't worry.
Now here's
about it. I
another
got
thing,
more.
y'all. Look here, y'all. Look at this cup. I mean, we got death on one side. We got the brush beater on. This thing is awesome, and the coffee will knock your socks off, like straight up. That coffee, like whatever that blend was you had going on, man.
Oh man, that's
that
just
thing had
Cafe
me spun
Bustelo.
up.
That's just Cafe.
Well, no, you had
Bustelo.
something else in
Wasn't
there, some
anything.
sugar and some.
Oh yeah, they have a Cafe con leche that you can get, and it's good. It's
Oh man,
real good.
I almost had a stroke drinking that cup of coffee over there. Like I was driving home shaking, just shaking down the highway.
Get you where you want to go. You know, you drink that,
Yeah,
you get
battle
some
known.
done.
You know what?
That's right.
That is not payback. That's not payback, Battle known, because that you don't break a man's coffee cup, especially not a brush beater coffee cup that I never even got to drink out of. I was like saving it. I was like, I'm gonna save this for a special day to drink out of this. But no,
Well, I got
got
more.
nothing.
I got more. And you know what? That's her way of saying she's pissed off because you didn't bring her one home.
Well,
And
I got her
so-
one. It's right here.
Oh,
It's hers right here. This is yours, dear.
Oh no,
It's all yours.
Dang.
So, man, you are all over the place in the world of politics, and I don't know how you absorb and retain all the information that you bring into that head of yours every day. I can't do it. I try to stay up on the world politics and what's going on. I just cannot.
I write
Paper don't
everything
forget.
down. You know, and I ain't no magic trick to it. I just sit there and write everything down. That's all.
Paper don't forget. That's what it is. But you know what I wanted to do tonight, because to me, yeah, what's going on in the world is super important. We need to pay attention to it. But there's also a time I think we need to talk about like some of the backstory. Like we all know Brush Beater, NC Scout, all the cool stuff you do, but let's talk about some of the stuff back in the day, because you've been in the preparedness gig for a long time.
Yeah.
And your family, if I remember correctly, is 6 generations deep in the area that you live in right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So how did that start off? I mean, baby Brush Beater is brought into the world, and then how did you get to where you are at now? What was your upbringing like?
So I grew up, everybody that's been to my place here in North Carolina, and they all know the story. That is the house and the farm that I grew up on. So everybody that trains on my farm, that's where I grew up. That's the house I grew up in. Nobody in Caswell County, North Carolina, has grown up exactly wealthy, and those who did don't live here anymore. So I'm extremely blessed to have grown up where I grew up and in the lifestyle that I grew up in. We came up, my dad worked in the local factory here, and he had several other side businesses, and my earliest memories were on horseback as a kid.
Wow.
And we broke horses and turned around and sold them. We rode horses every Saturday and Sunday whenever he had time off. And it was, during the summer, you're getting up hay bales, at square bales, and you're throwing square bales nonstop. Turned around selling those. He built a landscaping business. And, it's just the biggest thing is industriousness and always being on top of, not just how can I serve everybody else, and which he was always very much into, but also, at the end of the day, I'm here to take care of my family, and these are all lessons he imparted on me as a child, that you never are sitting still. If you're sitting still, that's time that you could be gainfully employed doing something that is, is going to be either profitable, or it's going to be putting food back, or it's going to be doing something for hard times. And, he got that from his granddad and his dad. I had both my grandfathers well into adulthood. I was very fortunate enough to have that. And I learned a whole lot from them too. And it was, they survived the Depression. Nothing, no matter how wealthy or comfortable they got later on in life, they never forgot any of those lessons, and they never spared a moment to share those with us. And
that's and that's something.
Waste. Nothing.
Yeah. And that's something, my father was born at the end of the Depression. He'll be 90 this year. So he's born in 1936. So my father was 42 years old when I was born. And growing up with people that lived in that era, that's a whole nother world. And it's sad because a lot of people, these younger generations, they don't have that one-on-one time with these people who survival was just everyday life. I know you didn't throw away no coffee cans. I can tell you that.
No, and I don't, I still keep those habits. I don't throw away things that are reusable. We don't do that. And I get annoyed with the throwaway culture that has been created. I don't, we don't do that. And my kids, we work cows, they're raising chickens, and they're very young, but they're learning what life is all about from a young age. And I think for me, that was there were two very important lessons that I learned as a kid. The first one is you ain't the biggest thing on the planet. And I learned that from breaking horses as a child, that, and I remember I see Chris is in the chat, Angery American in the chat. Y'all reminded me of the show I did a few weeks ago, and I was, I drank a lot of white liquor on that show. I'm not drinking white liquor tonight, but y'all reminded me, I was trying to recount a story, but I was drunk. You ever try to tell a story when you're drunk, but getting thrown into a whipping post, and now I own that riding ring and whipping, everything, where I learned some of my life lessons by God's grace. But one of those big lessons was getting thrown into that. And I was 7 years old, and that knocked me out. And it, deviated my septum and probably gave me a little bit of brain damage and everything else, But you learn an important lesson there, that you ain't the biggest thing on the planet. It don't matter how tough you are. That's where toughness comes from, by the way, is learning that you ain't that big, and
that's
and
it.
You gonna hurt. And that, and the other big thing that I learned at a young age is that, life is going to end at some point for everything. Everything that's born is going to die at some point. Now, with animals, typically you're picking that time, right? Because that's the meaning of life. but you have to respect that. You have to
Yes.
have a lot of respect for that. And that's what I think we've lost as a society. We've lost that respect because we're so disconnected from where our food comes from. And we just don't respect it anymore. And when you don't respect it, you end up wasting it. And when you waste it, you end up where we are now. And when you don't respect the small things, you don't respect the big things.
Instant gratification, that's where we're at now. It's you know you look at just Americans in general and weight. I'm not a skinny dude anymore, but I got to look at how the world has been designed over the years, what we are exposed to, and it is this world of instant gratification. Like and back in the day, 100 years ago, you ate when you prepared that meal, and when you prepared the meal, it didn't have anything to do with the microwave. Now it's like, I think I'll roll down to McDonald's and grab me, a double quarter pounder and this and this and this. And, all the calories and all the food and all the instant here you goes. It's ruined us. It's ruined us as a culture. It's ruined us as people. And I think you're dead on the money. That's what's happened to this world, man. It's too easy for us now.
It is. And I think, a lot of people are struggling to find that because the answer in all that is the meaning of life. You get real deep into it. The meaning of life is that struggle. And when we work hard for things, you appreciate them. When you work hard for what you have, you appreciate it that much more. When it comes easy to you, you don't give a damn about it. It doesn't matter to you. And you don't respect it. And you can tell, I had a conversation with a family member just a little while ago. And it was regarding an old family friend that we had who built a wildly successful business locally. And I don't want to give too much away here, but wildly successful business to the degree his son and myself are the same age. We grew up together, but he grew up because his dad's business was wildly successful. They were very wealthy, became very wealthy. That he wasn't, in the public schools, and he grew up outside of that system. And then all of a sudden he's handed this wildly successful business and he's run it right into the dirt. He don't give a damn about it. And it's sad because it's led to all sorts of other problems that have went along with it. And when you don't appreciate things, you end up where we end up. And now, when we think about it, and I'm about to dive into an area that might be a little bit unpopular, but a lot of people talk a lot of trash about the boomer generation, right? They don't,
All right.
And every generation talks smack about the younger generation, and every younger generation will talk smack about the older generation. They always do that. But what I'll say is that the boomer generation were the last ones who really had a connection to the deeper meaning of our society, where they still actually did have to struggle for relevance. The younger generations, and this is really unpopular with my age bracket. I mean, I'm a millennial. I'm borderline Gen X and millennial, but when a lot of my age cohort talks about stuff, they really don't get it, and they do understand on a certain level that there is struggle and that they're going to have to struggle for things. And I get it, but at the same time, they really don't get it because a lot of them grew up very, very soft, very soft.
Well,
and basic struggle is kind of foreign to them.
I agree with it. I'm a Gen Xer, but even some of the Gen X people, I think, now I didn't have it any good. I could tell you my father being 90 years old, like we got if I didn't get whipped on a daily, I thought something was wrong. I was like, I didn't get no whooping today. What's wrong with dad?
Yeah.
And you never, never, ever said you was bored, because that meant you got to split some more wood, or you got to haul water, or you got to do some type of a chore or work, some type of labor. There was a monster mall. You remember the old monster malls, the orange ones with the welded steel handles? Man, there's one of them that's got my DNA just rubbed all into it. I've split so much wood with that thing over the course of life. But
Look,
I think
them hands are calloused right there, boy.
Exactly. I looked like I had cerebral palsy when I was done, holding that handle all day long.
Yeah.
But I think that's you see the difference in people today by their fathers and their grandfathers that they were exposed to. Kids these days, and I say kids, but young adults these days, they've had it easy. Unfortunately, it's just like that, the saying that's going around everywhere, the whole hard times make strong men, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think we're in that phase.
I don't want to trash anybody here, because what I will say is, on the bright side of that, and none of it's wrong, but the younger generation today, and I say this as somebody who employs two guys who are in their early 20s full time in here, and about to pick up number 3.
Oh, nice.
They aren't looking at things as, well, I'm going to go get a 4-year degree and I'm going to, they ain't looking at it like that. A lot of your young generation today does in some way realize that there are very hard times coming. And what I'm seeing is that they're searching for the ways of old, and they're trying to go back to that. And they're struggling to go back to that. And I'm going to tell you something. That gives me a whole lot of hope for the future. Because when you've got young guys and gals who are searching for the traditional lifestyle, and almost like they're foregoing high technology, they're foregoing, Facebook, for example. Facebook is seeing a record exodus right now of people that are under 40 that are leaving. If you look at the average demographic on Facebook, they're over 40 years old. Instagram's having a lot of younger generation leave. When you look at the average age demographic of X, it's late 20s to very early 40s, and that audience is also shrinking. The social media is getting smaller and smaller. And when you look at conservatives, liberals have this going on too. This isn't strictly a political line here. Liberals are having a return, I would say a resurgence of the back to land type movement that, like in the 70s, like the John Denver types. And, we're going to go back, living in land. And the granola eaters and all that stuff.
Like a little hippiness.
We're seeing a big resurgence of that. And you know what? I may not agree with their politics and probably don't even want to have a conversation with them. But at the same time, if there's something to be gleaned from that community, then and that's positive that somebody takes from it, then that's okay. But also, a lot of you're seeing I'm seeing a very strong undercurrent of conservative males and females who are looking for a traditional lifestyle, who are rekindling all these things that, you and I talk about. They're looking for that, because not just because it's self-reliance, not just because they know that, hard times are coming. They absolutely are. It's because it gives them identity that they don't otherwise have.
That's a great way of putting it. I agree with that. I feel bad for this generation of these 20-year-olds, these 20s and even early 30-year-olds, because what is left? What is left in the world for you at this point? We're established. You've got 6 generations. I don't have the 6 generations in one area, but I've established myself in this world financially. Yeah. And but these kids these days, no matter how you look at it, think about just trying to buy a piece of property at this point in time, right? In your 20s. Like, you see there's a problem. You see that the food is just completely full of garbage and Big Brother does not have our best interest in mind, and they want to get back to those roots that our forefathers did. And then how do they do it? I mean, it's got to be a struggle, because I literally just got my property taxes today, and my property, I know you probably have too. It's going to be across the board. 75 to 85% increase across the board. Wilkes County, my property value went up $145,000, guys. $145,000. It doubled. The freaking property value, that it doubled. They doubled everything. And so how in the world are these 20-something-year-olds that are hungry to get back to our ancestral roots? How do they even do it? And there's a select few, but man.
So I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about a week ago, and it's kind of a funny story how we got into this conversation. But there was a gun store commando that was coming in, and he owns a gun store locally around here. And my friend does. And he had to run that guy off. He just had enough of him. He had to run him out. It's the only guy, I think I was telling you about him. It's the only guy I've ever heard of as an EMT that gets fired for poor hygiene. I mean, but anyway, this kid, and he's a kid, he's 20, 21, I think. But he had to go. I had to run him off. But we started to talk, me and the owner of the gun shop, and he was making a joke about said kid and saying how this kid's mama had come in and was talking about how she wanted to open a gun range / wedding venue, except that she don't own no land. She doesn't, and she was soliciting investors for this. And I'm like, you ain't gonna make no money. It's not possible. You're not gonna make any money, because unless you've got family land, that it's just prohibitively expensive to do this.
Generational wealth. Yeah. Generational wealth is what you've got to have.
Let me tell you, for the younger guys out there, you need to get into, if I think one of the great tragedies of America and the downfall of America is suburbanization. Because suburbanization took the family farms and split them up 6 ways from Sunday. And that's how companies like BlackRock and Larry Fink exist. And they have a whole 100%. Business model, right? They have a whole business model around the 30-year mortgage, because they know that, all right, when you start out, you take a 30-year mortgage on a home, you're probably only going to live in it for 10 years before you either move up or you go somewhere else. Like that. They know that. They've got this down to a damn science. And Absolutely. So they have profiteered off of generational wealth, and they've worked hand in hand in installing tax assessors in a lot of places, North Carolina being one of them. Yes. And BlackRock has spent a lot of money in North Carolina focused on splitting up family farms. One of the things that saved other places like Texas, for example, is the fact that Texas early on, because of the mineral wealth in the ground, they were able to create land trusts and did it. That's actually where a lot of that the business of creating land trusts started, was out there because of the mineral wealth that was in the ground. And so the guarantor and then the in turn trustees of those land trusts, they can't sell that land, nor would they want to. See, you take a place like North Carolina, that there's no such thing. So if you inherit a large tract of land on it, like in eastern North Carolina, and all of a sudden, the kids grow up in some level of comfort and they don't want to be working that no more. The pig farms come to mind here. I'm working on a specific example. Eastern North Carolina, hog farms. You got Wake County, Johnston County, Harnett County, so on and so forth, all the way to the coast. Well, these kids don't want to be out there working pigs. They want to go do other things, and the parents really don't want that life for their kids either. So what do? They turn around, they sell off the land. Whatever they can get, they subdivide, and they sold it off. And then the rest of it, they turn around, and who'd they sell it to? Smithfield.
Right.
Smithfield's a Chinese company. That's a Chinese company.
Yes.
So what I'm telling you is this. I'm kind of calling water wet here. I'm giving you a history of how these things happen. But if you want to fix it, here's how you fix it. If you're young, go into a land trust. Get a land trust. You get those like-minded individuals around you. You build a land trust. And that's how you start building it. Now, it ain't going to fix things, and it ain't going to go back to the way things were, by the way. But your best bet right now is doing like what the Amish do, like what the Mennonites do. You pool that money together, and because there ain't no going back to the 1950s. All right, it ain't going to
happen.
But what you can do is make a better future for your progeny, and that's going to require families banding together. Just for the economics of it, that's how that's going to have to happen. So it's there ain't no other way around it. And you may not like that answer, but that's what it's going to be.
I agree. And BlackRock, that whole, that discussing group of higher powers that shouldn't be. I remember seeing not only just here, of course, you got Hawaii and all that kind of stuff. BlackRock was in this. We've got here in North Carolina, over here in Spruce Pine and Asheville, all that BlackRock with the lithium mining. But I remember about 5-6 years ago, as I lived in the flatlands for a period of time down by Chicago, and BlackRock has bought almost all of the houses that are within the Chicago area now. You about can't find a house to buy. You can have a house to lease or rent, but you can't buy one hardly anymore because they just bought them up, all these investment companies. And tell me if you've been having the same thing. I receive 2 or 3 offers from businesses for my land every freaking week. Yeah. Like it's all day long. Real tree properties. The truth be known, I'm pretty sure they all are owned by BlackRock anyway. But these investment companies are buying up land like it was going out of style.
Yeah, Mossy Oak and Realtree properties are owned by BlackRock.
There you go.
That's all part of Vanguard. And by the way, in case anybody didn't know, these property companies, you know how they leverage their debt?
Hit us.
Chinese junk bonds.
Wow.
It's China. It's circular here. They go right back to it. And that's why, look, I'm a big MAGA guy. Obviously. Hell, I got my Doge.
That's great
koozie right
there.
here. But look, I'm gonna call out Trump whenever he does something that ain't to the standard. I'm gonna call it out. And all of this bluster that was going on just 1 week ago, everybody's already forgot about it with the Panama Canal. Guess what? Guess who he signed the rights to the Panama Canal to? Talking about we're going to take those rights back from China and we're going to take them from Panama. He turned around and gave them to China. We're going to take them all back. Guess who he gave them to?
Who's that?
Larry Fink and BlackRock.
Awesome.
So it never changed hands. It never changed hands. This is bullshit. It never changed hands. So, I'm sorry. I'm going to call it out, and I'm going to keep calling it out. And I mean, I don't know what it is about it. There's a certain crowd of people out there that believe Trump can do no wrong. Trump is the outward symbol of the Make America Great Again movement, but he ain't the beginning and end of it. Okay. No. The beginning of it was a John Birch Society, and then in turn, Pat Buchanan. Not Donald Trump. Donald Trump just capitalized on it. The Make America Great Again movement, the America First movement, was about labor unions. In the 1990s, when my daddy would bring home all the labor union pamphlets from United Steelworkers, that was literally the Trump agenda. And I know, again, that's another thing that will be super unpopular when you point all that stuff out. But putting tariffs on imports, bringing in, labor and being protectionist against imported labor, these were all big things that were being argued. So it's and of course, if you bring that stuff up today, if you bring up the term labor union today, all of a sudden they're going to say, oh man, that's some left-wing commie stuff. No, it's not. That's straight up MAGA right there. Yeah. Let me tell you something about, United Steelworkers. United Steelworkers was responsible for saving this part of the country right here. Yeah. In the 1990s and in the 2000s, when the textile mills, when NAFTA really took effect, when everything that Pat Buchanan said was going to happen, when everything that Ross Perot said was going to happen, happened. With the textile mills and that industry, everything being exported overseas, all of it, every bit of it. Man, and I'm telling you, you could see it, man. Kids where their parents, they might have had a 5th grade education and they go to work in the mill up in Danville, and that's all they've got. And then all of a sudden tomorrow they don't have a job. And what the hell you think's going to happen, man? And so United Steelworkers was the only thing, because they went on strike in 2000 in order to, and it was a long strike, in order to guarantee that rubber manufacturing and our tire manufacturing would not go overseas, would not go to China. Right? Specifically wouldn't go to China. And that was with Goodyear, that was with Firestone, Bridgestone, and with BF Goodwrench to have some guarantee that wasn't happening. And they were able to put the brakes on all of that. So when people trash organized labor, there's a lot of things we could say about this bad about organized labor. Okay, I totally get it. But there's also a lot of really good things, a lot of really good things. And what was happening in that era, and is still happening now, is very, very important, right? And it's very important to bring that into the conversation, because not everything is black and white, left and right.
No, I agree. The whole thing of I was talking to a very well-known homesteader, and we have a mutual homesteader. And when I say homesteader, I mean, they're all over the YouTube, and, they're big time. They do all the things. They make the videos. As soon as Trump got in, they sold a bunch of their stuff, a bunch of their preps, farm, and bought a boat. And when asked, what are you doing? They said, well, Trump's in, we're good. And that's how crazy things have gotten, is that even people who I thought had good common sense, come to find out they're just brainwashed as everybody else is. So
and they bought a boat.
They bought a boat. They bought a big boat. They got rid of a bunch of their preps and stuff. They bought a boat because Trump got back in. I'm going to tell you, when times are good and calm, to me, it is more of a sense of urgency, in my opinion, to prepare more. This is that spot where you get to catch your breath and focus on the stuff that you've been trying to get done. Get that shit done, because that's break time. Take advantage of that calm before the storm, as far, and look, guys, Trump is a man. All right. He's just a man. He's not I don't remember it being the alpha and the omega, none of that's attached to Trump. Okay. He's not the return of Jesus Christ, except for that everybody, a lot of people look at it that way. But, I think we put a lot of weight into what's going on. I agree with you. I like him. I voted for him, but at the same time, we printed more money in the last 4 years than the entirety of printing money. How can you even fix that at that point?
I voted for him 3 times.
Exactly. Same.
But that's because I voted for him 3 times because he was the best option. Because he is, and the points of view that Trump brought up, especially in his first campaign, were exactly the American protectionist points of view that I hold very dear. And I do believe that he believes in that. But if you think that one person is going to fix the institutional rot that we have going on, man, look at what's been going on with these frivolous injunctions that have been, this Judge Boasberg, the DC swamp, and look, I think Americans need to realize right now that your rights are one black robe away, robe who doesn't share your worldview, by the way, one black robe away from saying you ain't got that no more.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's actually what we've seen.
Oh yeah. No, that's there's a lot of stuff going on, man, that it worries me. It worries me a lot. This tax thing, this whole property tax thing really kicked me right dead in the nuts, to be completely honest.
It's Vanguard. It's Vanguard and BlackRock, because let's get to the root of this. Who is the tax assessor in your county? Do you know? You probably don't know. But a lot of people probably don't know. Do you know that person's background? Because I don't know your particular one. But then again, you look at that person, all right, so they're just making a decision, right? Then it goes to the county commissioners. Who are they? And look, this goes deep. Who are all these people? Who was it that gave the green light to this? Who was it that made the decisions? And you start looking into those people and who they're beholden to, and then you'll begin to understand. Look, Soros and company, everybody makes a big deal out of Soros, and he is. But this is what he's done, and it's been a trickle-down effect because they built a machine within a machine. And it's all part of Vanguard, BlackRock, et cetera, because they want to price you out of your ability to hold on to your land. That's what they want. And they're going to take it, and they're going to take it from you, and then they're going to sell it to someone else. And look, here's something that's going on right now. I'm going to call attention to it. And I'm willing to bet that a lot of people in the chat in here aren't even aware that this is going on right now. Out west, in Utah, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, they're talking about how they want to sell off public lands that are out there for quote unquote low income housing. And they're going for it, by the way. They're going for it. In Idaho, they're going for it. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. Now, selling off public lands or the return of public lands to private ownership has traditionally been a conservative point of view. The preservation of public lands has traditionally been a left-wing point of view in the United States. It's something that conservatives have frequently pointed at Theodore Roosevelt, because he was the originator of public lands, saying that, you know, that it's government overreach and stuff. But here's the thing: you only say that because you think of private land ownership in terms of a good steward, right? Somebody like me who owns my farm and I work my cows on it, and I have, you know, I'm self-sufficient on my farm. We're getting ready to start planting. Here in 3 weeks, we're going to be putting plants in the ground, you know, and getting ready to everything is self-sufficient. I know everything that goes on, every species of plant that grows and trees that grow on my land, and I know everything about it. I know the watershed, I know the season, I know everything about it. But you got to think, these companies, BlackRock, Vanguard, et cetera, are wanting to profiteer off of that.
Yeah.
And they're building low-income housing. So they're, all right, out west, you've got large stretches of land that's literally uninhabitable. And traditionally, we've leased that land to ranchers out there for grazing rights and water rights. Well, all of a sudden, we're going to put people on it that are, quote unquote, low income. You show me a low income area of any town or city across the United States that's well kept, clean, not polluted. These people don't give a damn about anything. You're basically going to create Section 8 housing.
Yes.
In our land that we need to be preserving, that might be most vulnerable to it. And not only that, there's a reason these areas are uninhabited, because they're almost uninhabitable. Who the hell are you putting in there?
Yeah.
You know,
that's a good question.
Who in the hell are you putting in there?
You know, and the other side of this is when you talk about BlackRock and Vanguard, these entities have the credit card with no limit. All right. When you are the ones that print the money, when you print the money, you can afford anything you want to. Oh yeah, I'll just buy this up. Let's buy that up. You can't fight against that type of stuff when it comes down to it. They just print more money, and there you have it. So no, and another side of that is with that housing, you know, all this Section 8 government housing, things like that. Of course, because it's called communism, because you control the population that way. If you have a whole bunch of people who are dependent upon the system, housing, food, you know, food stamps, the SNAP card. Look, there's a time and place for it. Everybody, you know, there's people that need help. But at the same time, I know tons of people who have made a career out of living off the system. And that is called government control.
Look, anytime they put up quote unquote low income housing somewhere, that place goes to shit quick, fast, in a hurry. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. You don't want the people there. Look, and I say that as somebody who grew up poor. All right, I'm going to tell you something. The other day, I had a friend come in who works in law enforcement locally, and I made a joke about a guy who was the definition of trailer trash. The story I told you, T, about a guy holding his wife hostage in a trailer for a 12-pack of Budweiser and a carton of Winston's. And we had a good laugh about that. He's like, man, that's a name I ain't heard in a long time. And hey, look, I've seen it up close. But do you want that living in your backyard? Because I didn't have a choice growing up. Okay. No. I didn't have a choice. And that was there. And the thing is, one of the sayings that we always had around here is that you might be from the trailer park, but you ain't of the trailer park.
Yes,
you know?
Absolutely.
And I didn't grow up in a trailer park. I was trailer park adjacent. You know, the end of my road's got a few trailers on it. You know, and Hey, it is what it is, man.
It
But
happens.
you realize though what to stay away from and what to value, at the same time, what to value. And
Yep.
it's you don't want that. And those you don't want those kinds of people, but when you take our most vulnerable areas, our most vulnerable wildlife, our most vulnerable habitats, and habitats, by the way, that are used for more productive endeavors like herding cattle, feeding cattle, grazing rights, for people who actually are productive,
Yeah.
but you want to put low income housing on it, no, get out of here.
Well, I mean, this once again, that's the world that we live in, and this is a byproduct of, I think that these elitists have been setting this up for years and years and years, and they had that intuitive look into the future of for the purposes of wealth, where that they've been building generational wealth for decades and eons, and we haven't. We're pretty much so cattle at this point. I think, we've been getting, we've been out there, put out to pasture, and being used as basically cattle to these people. And now, there's a select few of us that are scrambling to try to figure out how to turn it back around. And I'll be honest, I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it's possible.
It is possible. I'm going to say it absolutely is possible. And the way it's going to happen is a shift in thinking. And that's why I'm saying, if you're a young guy out there or gal who's enterprising, you're working your ass off, and there's a lot of them. Okay. There's a whole lot of them. Let me tell you, build a land trust. I'm telling you, get up with some like-minded folks, put together a land trust, get it in writing. Normally a lawyer can build you a land trust for about $300. All right. That's about it. And you create a land investment company, and that's the way you do it. All right. That is the way you do it. And it's going to take some discipline. Okay. But here's one of those things. I run into guys all the time that have, 3 and 4 ARs and, they in high dollar stuff and those Gucci gear and everything. And look, I sell all that stuff. I get it. That is the business I'm in. But the real heart of the business I'm in is getting you prepared. And so this is something nobody ever really talks about, is get together with a group of sound individuals and do that. And you absolutely can. There's a lot of folks out there. Now, understand that not everything, it ain't the easy button, but nothing ever is. And this is the way you're going to have to fight this thing. This is the way that you have to fight the Leviathan. And there are so many protections that go into trusts and building trusts and make sure that it's done right. You got to get you can get on LegalZoom or any of these fly-by-night websites and get something done that is kind of questionable legally. You need to get a local lawyer. If you're looking at a piece of land in an area, you need to get a lawyer that is from the county where you're looking at to build it. Because you know why? Because they normally know every one of the realtors in that area, and they know what's going to come up for sale. And they know, like, for example, here locally, I was helping good friends of mine who've been clients of mine over the several years now. They're relocating from their state in the Mid-Atlantic to here because they're done. They're finished with it. They're not much older than me, and they're like, we just can't deal with it no more. And we're out, and we're coming down here. They both have their professional qualifications are very good and are high paying, and I'm gonna leave it at that. But when they come down here, they took me out to the property. I knew where it was and got out there, and I said, okay, first of all, and this is just my, life experience. I said, first thing is they were looking at a tract of land. I said, all right, I can tell you right now, there's only sections of this land that's going to perk. So the first thing you need to do, because it's been clear cut, is you need to declare this a tree farm. Make sure it's been replanted, because it looks like it's been replanted in pine, just because the pines were about that tall.
Right.
But make sure it's been replanted. And then once you've done that, you declare this as a tree farm. That's going to get you some tax breaks. All right. Turn around and pick the spots that are actually going to perk, and then get those for your build sites. First thing that you need to build is a metal building for your equipment, because that way it looks like it's actually a farm. Like this is going to be a working tree farm. All right.
All right.
So the funny thing was that the realtor said, and I told, one of the two of them, I told him all that behind the tailgate of my truck outside of earshot of the realtor. Then the realtor turned around and told him the same thing about an hour later. And he looks at me like, damn, you know it. I said, all right.
What you?
Yeah. Well, I've done this. Ain't my first rodeo. Yeah. I've done this.
That's it.
But the other thing is that there was an easement to get to the property, and you have to get in writing all of the legal agreements of that easement out, because if you don't, when you buy a piece of landlocked property, and when I mean landlocked, I mean there is no outside access to a hardball road, and that dirt road is not, it's co-owned essentially. There's a legal agreement to get it in there. What you got to do is you have to buy that with it in the deed, the easement agreement deeded to you. A lot of places that doesn't happen, and there's not everywhere requires that. And if you don't get that, you better buckle up, because you're in for a legal fight, and it's going to happen every time anything needs to be done to that road. There's going to be a fight. And so, I got him in touch with a buddy of mine here that is a lawyer that works, specifically in these types of agreements. They got it all ironed out, and they were good to go.
Awesome. That's the things that people that's the info that people really need right there, especially this younger generation, like we were talking about. They're just blind trying to make their way. And, that's the kind of stuff right there that really makes the difference. Let's talk about Mountain Readiness. We've been yapping away. This has been a good show, man. I've really enjoyed this, Matt. I'm glad you jumped on here, brother, for sure.
Man, when I ain't drinking white liquor, talking about getting thrown into a whipping post by the crazy ass quarter horse.
Yeah. You had a lot of people around there pushing that towards you, though. It wasn't. Yeah, I did. I'm not going to just blame you. I can't blame just you. And then Chris, he brought his out, and everybody was. I almost went and grabbed a jar myself.
Well, but look, if I'm drinking Pendleton, I can drink Pendleton. Pendleton's about as cheap a liquor as I'm gonna drink. But I can. If I sit there and drink Pendleton, I can sip that. If I drink Corleo tequila, I can sip that all night. If I'm drinking, a good rum, I can sip that all night, and I'm good. But man, that white liquor, that stuff that Dolio put in front of me, and he was drinking it. Good Lord. He got it. There's a distiller in Tennessee that makes Southern Pride whiskey. And that's good. Southern Pride whiskey is real good. But man, he made that white liquor, and so he made it on his stills. Dude, that's my truck, man.
Did you meet you know who Texas Tony is, right?
Yeah.
Man, he had some of that there, because he's got big distilleries there in Texas, and
yeah.
Man, I don't know if you tried that one. The first sip I took of his was like some 150 something proof stuff. Like I took a swallow of that. I'm gonna tell you, it burned all the way down to my toenails. That stuff was insane. I said, no, put it away. Never again. Can't trust that stuff. But speaking of Mountain Readiness, hanging out, where you will be there Thursday, the first. That'll be the first. And you have got the comms class that's going on. I assume there's still a couple spots left. Are we sold out?
Oh,
still
yeah,
a couple spots.
There's plenty.
Look here, y'all. That's it. If you come into Mountain Readiness, this here, for $100, you get this full class, a whole day class. If you are trying to get into the comms gig, which I need this class, but I'm going to be setting up tents and scrubbing toilets, so I just have to catch the next one again. But this class here is for you. If you come into Mountain Readiness, you get this huge discount. Otherwise, this be like $200-300 for this class or more. So jump on that right there. And did you freeze up, Matt?
No, I'm here.
Matt. Oh, there he is. There he is. Yeah. And then, of course, Friday night, we're going to do the night vision IR, driving under IR, all that stuff. Carl's going to come over. We got Wes with his truck outfitted with IR. That's going to be a blast. I can't wait for that. That's going to be an awesome time.
Yeah, I'm bringing mine. I got a Super Duty that's outfitted for it too. So I'll be bringing mine. Wes will have his there. We've been, we done coordinated fires.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a blast. Now, somebody asked here, is Justin going to teach a class, Mountain Readiness, or is he manning the booth?
Who is Justin?
I don't know. I figured you knew. Navy 95, who's Justin? Because we don't know.
Who's Justin? I mean, Justin? I'll be there and I'll be manning a booth, but
it'll be both. Yeah. All right.
My name ain't Justin.
Mel was asking.
I don't know who Justin is.
Mel asked too, is the wife and babies coming? You bringing the whole family?
Oh, yeah, they'll be there. They're going to be there.
Awesome.
Now, I don't know how long a couple of them will stay because they have short attention spans.
Right.
And a low tolerance for.
Well, I mean, but it's 106 acres, so there's plenty of room for them to roam and run.
Oh, yeah.
And then,
but they'll be there.
What? Now, wait a second here. Come on, Chris. I don't put no schedule out until 2
Chris
weeks.
Knows.
2 weeks out. Because it takes me 40 hours to do this schedule. And then somebody cancels, and then I got to redo the entire schedule. So 2 weeks out will be an actual physical schedule with hour for hour. Right now, I just got all the classes listed and who the instructors are. So also, where do we register for the class? If you go to Mountain Readiness, I got a event right there, comms class right there. You can click that, takes you right over to Brush Beater, or you can go to Brush Beater. So either or, we've got them all up, and there's a bunch of classes, of course. Also throw up, Russ, throw up the Brush Beater for everybody. I think everybody already knows who you are, though. I mean,
it's right
we
there
put it
at the bottom, brushbeater.store.
Yeah, throw up the one for his website. I don't know where it's at.
It's right there at the bottom.
Throw it up
where
there.
You see my
there
name
it is.
right there.
There's the cool one.
Store.
Yeah, Russ, man, he's good at this whole QR codes and fanciness like that. That's professional looking.
Yeah.
Just leave that thing up there for a little bit.
Professional.
So cool. Well, hey, man, it's been a blast. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on here to talk and hang out for the evening. I know your time is hard to come by, but
shoot, I'll make time for you, brother. Anytime I get on here, I'll make time for you.
Oh, man, that's what I'm talking about.
There's only a handful of people I'll make time for on this planet. You're one of them. You, man, Chris, I'll make time. Look, I make time for my friends and my family.
Man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you more than just a pretty beard. Matt is more than just a pretty beard now.
Yeah, it's luxurious. Somebody said I look like Billy Gibbons. You know, the other day I made it was a Radio Contra, you know, and it's up on Rumble. If you look for Radio Contra, you'll see it up there. And, you know, of course, it's on X too. And, you know, right here, recording right here in the leather room. And you know, I was on here. It's supposed to be, you look like Billy Gibbons. Man, I'm going to take that as a compliment because Billy Gibbons is one of my favorite guitarists of all time. So it's you know, but yeah.
Well, now, and I believe, did we talk Joe into coming? Because I'm pretty sure Joe said that he was going to come. I don't know if he's actually going to do it.
I'm pretty sure he did. I'm gonna revisit that. He needs to come down here because immediately following that, for all your listeners out west, immediately following Mountain Readiness, I'm going to be beating feet out to Montana, where I'm teaching the RTO course, the Signals Intelligence course, and the night operating course all together. So it'd be cool if we had a little convoy going out west, you know, like the Oregon Trail. You've died of diphtheria. Your Chevrolet broke down and you died of dysentery.
Now look here, if it's you and Chris, if it's you and Chris and Dolio cruising out on the Oregon Trail, I guarantee you, y'all won't be dead because of diphtheria.
No.
It has something to do with that white liquor stuff.
You drank the white liquor and ate a bad Flying J burrito, and
maybe some of that 7-Eleven sushi or something.
Woo.
Well, y'all, it has been a blast. Everybody out there in the chat land, thanks for hanging out. Matt, appreciate you, brother. Love you. Can't wait to head over to the store again here soon. One of these days soon, I get freed up, cruise the Harley over there or something. Enjoy some of this weather.
Yeah, there you go.
Kick that iron down the road. So,
yeah, brother.
But hey, folks, that's a wrap. That's a wrap. We will see you next Monday. Matt, I will talk to you soon, brother. Roll us out of there, Russ. It's been real.